Yes, fellow Amazonians, while we complete this segment of this afternoon or this evening's broadcast, um, we I like us to talk a little bit about the elections before we conclude with what is happening in California. I'm still looking to see if I can get some signals from them. Um, I understand that people are driving into the reception for the reception now. So very, very quickly, Barrister Fro, Barrister Mbeseha, you both have been following the elections, the charade. It started with Bala, Chiruma, trying to create some animation. Our concern should be more of Bala and his foolishness. But now Kamto has been tactfully. It's unfortunate how some Anglophiles, permit me to call them that way, are hoping that they can make anything in this election when Cameroon is strategically eliminating a potential winner of the election, who is Kamto. Everybody's aware that the Burmese, the Kamto has what it takes to actually lead French Cameroon, not the two Cameroons put together. And he won the previous election. Now, Atanganji happens to be the emperor who chooses who gets in. So the law is being manipulated. I have never seen a system that says that because you boycotted an election 2 or 3 years ago, you cannot participate in the presidential election. The technicalities is so. My interest is not for us to talk about the elections, but to point to the world how that the process of organizing what they call election is a total fraud. And why Amazonians who are still hoping, or Anglophones, or Southern Cameroonian born, like the Ambes, the Bobalas, and all the enablers who are manipulating the people to participate in this fraudulent activity, can actually see that there is really no hope, not any day soon. Please, maybe I should begin with you, Barrister Fu.
Yes, Paddy. Let me start by saying that Kamto is a very, very intelligent man, but he's not a good politician. The electoral law violates the Cameroon Constitution of 1996. The Cameroon Constitution of 1996 clearly states that any law that violates the Constitution is not receivable, it is null and void. There is nowhere in the Constitution where it says that if you boycott an election, you cannot stand the next one. There is a law, the Constitution clearly gives every citizen the right, the fundamental right to either be voted or vote for any election. You are allowed to stand as a candidate and you are also allowed to vote. Those are the fundamental rights given by that Constitution. In Article 121 of the Electoral Law, the CPDM carefully included a clause that says if you don't have elected officials, you boycott the election, I didn't have elected officials, you cannot stand as a presidential candidate. That is in complete contradiction to what the Constitution says. And the Constitutional Council that is charged with vetting a law before it is promulgated to make sure that it conforms to the Constitution carefully allowed it because the Constitutional Council is Mr. Bia's making. Those are his cronies. The so-called elecam are the cronies of Mr. Bia. Let's talk about Mr. Bia. Is Mr. Bia a demented old man of 93 still capable of ruling any country? No. The guy has gone him to the village. He has not received anybody for the last 6 months. What is Ngongo and Madame and those around Mr. Bia doing? They want to continue to rule Cameroon by proxy. And in order to do that, the credible candidate who would have won this election must be excluded at all costs. So they inserted that clause. And that is a clause that Kamsto fell into it. But as a smart lawyer, he carefully resigned from the MRC, which is his party, as the president, and was taken as a candidate by Manindem. And the Manindem that I know and that everybody knows, the leader is Eneset Ekane. One old pa that had been gone to the village, who was part of the founding of Manindem, who got angry and went and stayed him in the village called Yebga. Atanganji went and bribed him, paid him money, bought him a car, brought him, and said, I'm describing this so that you know the illegality and the nonsense, the type of people that La Republic Cameroon are. Brought him a Tanganji, the only Ambazonian thief that they have hired, bribed him, brought him, and carefully remove Ekana and set name as the chairman and put that man's on and introduce that man as a candidate for Manindem. So there were now two candidates, Kamto and that man. Kamto did not know what was happening until Elekam said, oh, we cannot admit you because of duplicity of candidatures. That a party is supposed to put only one candidate. And if you look at that, a selective prosecution, because there are more than 6 parties that had more than one candidate. Why did they why did they select a candidate from the CPDM when they had 2 candidates, Bia and Osetno? Why did they select Akeremona from what they call Universe? There were 2 candidates. That's selective prosecution. They wanted to get rid of Kamto at all costs. Akeremona is nobody. Akeremona is one of those traitors like his father, traitors against Ambazonians. In spite of the fact that we have carefully said no Ambazonians to participate in in this election in any shape or form. Akeremona has bullshitted us, and not only him, the other man of SDF, what they call him again, Josie Oswa, and then the CPDM did everything to exclude Kamto through Elekam. Kamto should know that even if the Constitutional Council are meeting now, it still cannot win because every fraud machine has been put together. So why can he not now fight? Because I'm hoping that they fight. They should smell the coffee, buddy. They should smell the coffee because they have killed our people. They do to fight and die. Kamto said on television that they will fight and those who live will live. This is the time. But what is he? He's fighting to get on the list to be elected. Do you see him winning this election? No. But if he was selected time ago, he had a chance. But now that the whole machinery has been put together, it's of no use. I think if I were advising him, I would ask him to start the fight that he promised now. That is where they are now. There is no way that Bia will not win this election if it goes through. But if you ask me, Paddy, I can carefully tell you that the way things are going, there may be chaos before the election and there will be no election. That is my suspicion. I don't have any evidence, but I see what is happening on the ground. I have lived in Douala all my life. I've seen the movement of the population of Douala. I don't see this election going on the way we think. And that will be good for me. That will be good for us because we want them to fight and smell the coffee too.
Yeah,
We know what to do when they fight.
By Mbeseha, I want to come to you now. So just so you cue in where Barrister Fu is ending. I'd like to ask a question in that regard. Dictators like Biya and dictatorial regimes, hegemonies instituted and backed by imperialists in Europe, is it possible to remove them by ballot box?
Like the ballot box. Ah,
I'm
correct
trying
question.
to let's generalize before we focus on Cameroon. Looking from other examples, do you think that youths in Africa, if they find themselves in such chaos, to strategize and do something different than a ballot box that can never ever give them any reform? Look at Burkina Faso and many other and the Sahel. Do you think that the ballot box is actually an option? Vice Ambitia, please.
Well, I think we're asking rhetorical questions. The ballot box has never been an option for dictators anywhere in the world. It is not because of Cameroon. Dictators in Europe, the elections, dictators are people who are in power and there as long as they can physically do. So, I think we follow in Francophone forums about this debate. We don't have anything to teach them. What Barat Sanso has said has been said there a million times by their own experts. But the question that we ask ourselves all the time is constitution. Is there anything in Cameroon called constitution? No, they have something that they have never had a constitution. They don't have one right now. Because a constitution to them is the will of the president. Is put in the constitution is what the president wants, the dictator prevail. That's your bottom line. This 2025. In 1961, they never had a constitution. In 1960, they never had a constitution before they got independence. From 1960 to 2025, they have never had elections successfully, be it of their president or even their parliamentarians or even their mayors. Never had one. They attempted to have one in 1992, which you all know. It was something like they wanted to look like democracy. They lost. The president lost that election. And what happened? They said, look, elections have no meaning. The one who wants to be there will be put there. He was put there. From 1992 to today, it's already more than almost 40 years. And so there's nothing like elections. But how does that come? As an illustration again, they don't have any constitution. For example, their constitution, anything they provide there, they must go back to them. The Article 96, which talks about declaration of fair assent. It simply says you declare, but it has never been implemented. Why? Because they refer to the president. They can't tell them how to to declare assets. And so they everything there is presidential. From the laws that create the ELECA, they are from the presidential palace. But is that our problem? No, that is not Ambazonian problem. Because come after October 12th, there will be a president in Yaoundé. That president could be Kamto. That president could be any other civilian. But that president could also be a military guy. That's just a fact. Somebody will be sitting there, be it Paul Biya transformed or somebody in his place, military guy, or even Kamto. What concerns us is how does that affect us? Do we care who sits in Yaoundé? No. Because Ambazonian problem is not a democracy in Yaoundé. Our problem is not based on who is sitting at the presidency. But, and many others have said, as Tanzania is concerned, elections are submission, not resistance. Submission system there. to the presidential elections, parliamentary elections, you are submitting yourself to the oppression. You are not resisting it. That's just the bottom line. And so whoever sits in here one day, our message is, let it be counter, let it be any other person. That person should come to that office in here one day, knowing that there's something called Amazonia, that they will have no other option but to go sit on the conference table and discuss the terms of separation or the terms that concerns us. And if you permit me, I will dive back. In the earlier analysis of this news this afternoon, the earlier analysis was foreign news, and they were talking about Gaza. The Gaza problem, that is Palestine, started in 1948, just 3 years before ours started. 13 years, sorry. 48 when they created the state of Israel. 61 when Amba started with his own problems. But the common thing about it is this: if this war, we're talking about the be there, if there had been war, there had been the issue of war, there will be no problem in Israel anymore because Israel is billion times stronger than Palestine. But for 77 years, they have not been able to defeat Palestine. What is the fight there? The fight in Gaza is a story of two people called the Palestinians and the other people, the Israelis. They're just a common problem. And experience has shown that the survival of those two states is not dependent upon who is militarily stronger. Because if that were the issue, Palestine would no longer be talking. Israel would have long since wiped them out of that place. But they have not done it. This week we saw, just from the news there, we saw President Trump running up and down trying to find solutions. You find that the overwhelming force used by Israel against the poor, unarmed Palestinians, calling in terms of them, has provoked a lot of issues, even at the United Nations. You see, Britain say we will recognize Palestine. You see, France say they will recognize Palestine. Why? Because in spite of the killings, the news said that they had captured some roof fighting. You could see people who are adopted, people who are starving because of that war. Who are those people who are being called, who are called adopters? They are Israelis. But those are the ones you can see physically suffer starvation. Others have died. Both Palestinians and Israelis have died. They have died in the end. What is the lesson? That war is coming to an end. Realizing that military force is not an answer to the solution. Palestine, just like the idea of Amazonia, is a doctrine that cannot be solved by force. So let them, let the record 10 billion bees. They are fighting Amazonia. They will not win Amazonia the next 50 years for eternity. And so the lesson that we have to take home is when next year, next month, 2 months to come, somebody sits in here one day, because he's a president. I don't know how he gets there, but there will be a president there, somebody, a leader. That guy who is president must come to his or her senses. That this Amazonia thing is not a thing of fighting. It's a thing of going to the conference table and discussing it. If you can be reminded by what we said, recruit all the army from France, add them to yours, you will not defeat Mbeseha. We don't have helicopters. But OBM must have learned the lesson like their own. 2 weeks, the promise to wipe out Mbeseha has not worked. I refrain from using campaign. Again, what difference does it make if you come president? Absolutely no difference, because they had asked Kamto earlier. Kamto, if you come to president tomorrow, what do you do with this so-called Mbeseha rebellion? And what was Kamto's answer? Cameroon has already history. What the history Cameroon has made, they have already assimilated Mbeseha. So it's going there, it's irrelevant. Let him be a Kerimuna. Let him be a Kerimuna. What will a Kerimuna bring as the president to solve the problem? For him, it will be a federal fighting for the federation. It's a federation that covers agreement. Now, our problem, as Dr. Mungo says there, is not going to come from the presidential palace in the Trudy. It will not come from there. Because we are not begging the president of Cameroon, be it Mr. Hijo, be it Mr. Paul Biya, be it Mr. Kamto, or even Akerimona. We are not begging them for them to give us what we want. We are standing on our rights and asking for what is rightfully ours. Not from Yaoundé. No. We're asking from the international community. It was not the duty of Yaoundé to decolonize us in 1961. It was the duty of the United Nations. It was the responsibility of Great Britain. It was the responsibility of France. And so these are international issues that their local election may influence them, but no meaning to us. Again, finally, Dr. Mongo has put it there many times before. Submit mission, not resistance. And this said, there are two types of resistance. The ghost town that will do, there is silence. We tell them we will not go sleep at home. The more rubber gun, stones, to bring Bukan down is active resistance, not submission. And so Gombalas and the rest can go up do what they are doing. I've said as far as this is concerned, Akerimona, as far as this is concerned, they're not Ambazonians. they are they speak English. They are not Ambazonians in spirit. And so that is my take. Let whoever wins, either by fraud, if there's no election, or by coup d'etat, if they have the arms, realize that coming 2026, because we saw in November, they will make ambassador an internationally agreed agreement. We will debate the terms of separation. That's just all. We're not asking for gifts from here. Because we have shown that the gifts they give us, just status, whatever thing, not worked. And again, for Kerimona, come with your federation. But before you come, go do homework and tell us where the first federation went to. Where is that first federation? If it must be one, what is the guarantee that it will not end the same way the first federation ended? So we don't waste. I don't waste my time debating what they are doing there. Their constitution is a piece of paper that has no meaning. It was voted in 1996. They have changed it so many times. What is the value of a constitution, which is the result of somebody? It came from a Tudi, came from a Pobia, and as they move on, they find out it is not satisfactory. They changed it to suit their case. They have amended. It had term limits. They removed it without even further questions asked. And so their constitution is their constitution. The people of Cameroon, they have the government they deserve. If they don't like that government, they will rise up, throw it into the dishes, and get what they want. But again, nobody can. Well, maybe me. They, Paul Biya and what has existed there, they are dictators. There's nothing like democracy in dictatorship. Dictatorship is getting it, keeping it for your interest, do what you want to do with it, and that is exactly what it is. That's all I can say about it. Over to you.
Paddy,
Go ahead.
something happened this week.
Is it frozen?
That is why I want. That's why I want a fight in La République du Cameroon. Something happened this week. The French have said in September they were going to recognize the state of Palestine. The British have said they will recognize the state of Palestine come September. The Canadians have said they will recognize the state of Palestine come September. And do you know what that means to Ambazonia? If La République du Cameroon fights, America will be forced to choose between the chaotic La République or Ambazonia, where all the resources La République is getting, the oil and all the minerals and everything is coming from Ambazonia. What would America do? I suggest that if there is a serious chaos in La République du Cameroon caused by the French, America will just turn around and recognize the state of the southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. They are dragging their feet today because there is nothing going on. But now that this week its allies have taken a stand, the Trump administration will be forced to take a stand too. They have the options. Somaliland and Ambazonia, they are also they can also say, okay, we will recognize this too. Because the fighting, the suffering of the Palestinians is likened to the suffering of the southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. And they were all caused by one colonial master, the British. The British have turned their back on the errors that they caused in southern Cameroon, and they want to correct the errors that they ignited in Palestine. What is left is that Trump will be forced to take a stand. That is why I am hoping and praying that there is chaos in La République du Cameroon come even before the 12th. And another information that we have is that they are going to declare Mr. Biya a winner, and after that there will be a coup in which one of Mr. Biya's henchmen, they have even named him. I'm not saying something that I'm speculating. It was announced that he is the commander of the presidential guard, will take over from La République du Cameroon and run what they call a transition and hand it to Ngongo. And that's why you see they are recruiting the B. The B is controlled by Ngongo. They are preparing for a fight. They have seen that they need more soldiers to counter the other protagonists. So Ambazonia will be protected. Come that fight.
Yeah,
That incident this week is giving me hope that they should fight so that some people will act.
yeah.
That is my take.
The lots of speculations, and I personally think one of the reasons France is holding Biya is because of that fear of the destabilization that could make them lose their grip on Ambazonia.